Hi, welcome back to Black Mantel Studios. I'm Bruce. I've been a DM for over 30 years. Back when I first started, I thought showering my players with gold was the whole point. They'd clear a dungeon, and I'd make it rain like they just hit the jackpot at a water-deep casino. But then I noticed something. They were bored. Every problem could be solved with money, and the stakes just vanished. So I killed the gold. I made it scarce, almost worthless. And suddenly my players started haggling for a single loaf of bread, making deals with shady people, and every single quest became a genuine fight for survival. It made our games unforgettable. And today, I'm going to show you how to do the same thing. Stay tuned. Look, the problem isn't the gold itself, it's what having way too much of it does to your game's tension. When players have thousands of gold pieces, they stop solving problems and just start throwing money at them. Need to get past a guard? Bribe him. Need info? Buy it. Need to cross a dangerous river? Hire a boat, a crew, and a private security. It flattens the whole experience. This gets even worse in a gritty low magic campaign. We spend all this time describing a town torn apart by famine, where people are starving, only for the players to waltz in with enough coin to buy the whole place. It completely shatters the immersion. Why would a blacksmith sell his last masterwork sword when he could just take the player's gold and retire on the spot? The world you build starts to feel like a flimsy facade, like a theme park. Gary Gygax even called this out in the old DMG. He basically says the whole price list assumes adventurers have already been inflating the local economy by hauling treasure back home. So if your party shows up to a starving little town with a dragon's horde, stuff doesn't stay normal. Players stop feeling like heroes fighting against the odds and start feeling like tourists on a pre-packaged vacation. Every reward feels meaningless because it's just another number on the character sheet. They're not fighting for their lives, they're just grinding to get to the next gear upgrade. So, what's the alternative? If we're taking gold out of the equation, what do we replace it with? The answer is to completely shift what people consider to be valuable. We have to teach our players that the most valuable things in a dark dungeon or a hostile wilderness can't be minted. The real currency of a gritty D&D game is survival. It's the torch that holds back the darkness for one more hour. It's the last scrap of food that keeps you from collapsing. It's the final arrow in your quiver. Focusing on these tangible resources is so much more compelling than just tracking hit points. HP is an abstract concept, but the number of torches you have left is a hard reality that decides how deep into the dungeon you can actually go. When you run out, the game changes. The darkness becomes the enemy, and every flicker of your last light is pure drama. This isn't about punishing your players. It's about making their victories actually mean something. When just surviving is the reward, every small win feels monumental. We need to change the economy from one of getting more stuff to one of just trying to lose less. The most interesting choices in Dungeons & Dragons aren't about what to buy, but what you're willing to sacrifice. To build this new economy, we need to lean on a few key pillars of scarcity. These are the resources that will take gold's place as the things driving your players' decisions. First up, and maybe most important, is Encumbrance. But forget the complicated weight tracking. The best way to handle this is a simple slot-based inventory. Give your players a limited number of slots, maybe 10, maybe 15. A sword takes a slot. Armor takes a handful. A coil of rope takes one. And a giant pile of treasure? That's going to take up a lot of slots. I mean a lot. Suddenly your players have to make agonizing choices. Do they take this heavy, ornate shield, or do I use that slot for another water skin? It forces them to constantly weigh greed against survival. Second is the ticking clock of consumables. Your main tools here are light and food. A torch should burn for exactly 1 hour. When your players step into a dungeon, they are on a very real clock. 3 torches means 3 hours tops. After that, they're dealing with the darkness and whatever monsters hunt in it. At the same time, you have to enforce the daily need for rations and water. In a harsh desert, like in the Dark Sun campaign or a frozen wasteland, running out of supplies needs to have immediate consequences that tie directly into the game's exhaustion rules. The third pillar is the cost of conflict. Every fight should drain more than just hit points. Track ammunition. An archer is a beast from a distance, but the second they loose their last arrow, their whole role changes. They have to ask themselves, is that one goblin worth one of my precious 20 arrows? For magic users, we use the same logic for spell components. Try giving component pouches a limited number of charges, say 10, for casting those simple spells. And for the big ones with costly components, like the 300 gold piece diamond for revivify, just add a 0, make it 3,000 gold. All of a sudden, bringing someone back from the dead is a campaign-altering event, not a minor inconvenience. Quick pause. If this is hitting home, tap like, and if you want more gritty DM tools like this, hit subscribe. And if you want the stuff I actually use to build pressure without a ton of prep, check out my Gumroad. The 5-faction star web helps you create factions that fight over limited resources, so scarcity shows up in the world, not just on a spreadsheet. And the dungeon stocking card is my quick way to build dungeons where supplies, risk, and tough choices naturally show up room by room. Links are in the description and pinned comment. Alright, let's get back to killing gold. Okay, let's talk about how to implement these ideas at your table with a few simple house rules. First, you need to create meaningful gold sinks. These are reoccurring costs that constantly drain your party's wealth and make even a small payday feel huge. Just get rid of open magic shops. Instead, maybe a quest leads them to a hermit enchanter who can craft an item, but only if they bring him a rare gem from a deadly ruin. Make them pay for everything. Scribing a spell into a spellbook should be expensive. Repairing armor and weapons after a nasty fight should cost both time and money. If they want to hire help, those hirelings better demand a fair cut of the treasure and get paid on time. Second, create an attrition loop. These systems should all feed into each other to create a natural cycle of desperation. For example, moving slower through a dangerous place means they burn more torches and eat more rations to get to safety. And more time spent in the dungeon means a higher chance of wandering monster attacks, forcing them to use up even more resources like arrows and spells. It becomes a downward spiral where greed is directly punished without risk, forcing smart, strategic decisions at every turn. Finally, make tracking all this stuff easy with player-facing tools. The goal here is to boost immersion, not paperwork. Make a simple index card or a spot on their character sheet with checkboxes for rations, torches, and arrows, along with slots for their inventory. This puts responsibility on them and makes resource management a fast, tangible part of the game. It's not your job to count their arrows, it's the rangers. When you actually get these ideas running, something amazing happens. The whole vibe of your game changes. Just gathering resources becomes an adventure. Instead of finding a chest of gold, your players might make a survival check to scavenge for some edible mushrooms or find a few usable arrows on an old battlefield. They'll get into tense role-playing scenes not to get a discount on a magic sword, but to barter for a week's worth of food in a starving town. You'll see real desperation and true cleverness. I've seen players abandon a priceless statue because they needed the inventory slot for more torches to get out alive. I've had a party spend an entire session planning a heist not for gold, but for a single barrel of ale. These are the moments that make for legendary campaigns. This approach makes your world feel grounded and real. Poor NPCs will actually want to act poor. The powerful people will be the ones who control the food, the water, and the safety, not just the ones with the most money. Your players will start thinking like survivors, not tourists. And let me tell you, when your players cheer louder for finding a crate of unused torches than they do for a +1 sword, you'll know you created a truly gritty and memorable campaign. So let's recap. To make your D&D games more desperate and engaging, you have to kill gold as the main reason for doing anything. Instead, focus on what really matters for survival. The light from a torch, the food in your pack, and the time you have left. You do this with simple systems like slot-based inventory, real gold sinks that drain wealth, and an attrition loop where taking risks naturally burns through your resources. Scarcity isn't about punishing your players. It's the exact opposite. It's about empowering them. It forces them to make tough choices and to rely on each other. It makes their accomplishments feel earned and their stories unforgettable. So take control of your game's economy. Throw out those treasure tables that just shower your players in useless coin. The most memorable moments in D&D are born from struggle. So how do you handle gold and resources in your game? What's the most desperate trade your players have ever had to make? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're thinking, okay, but why does this feel like it never shows up in most modules? Click the problem with published D&D adventures right here. Because a lot of them accidentally train DMs to remove scarcity, and that's exactly what makes the game feel too safe.